Hey y'all, welcome to Cmor of Life Unfiltered. We're your hosts, Sam and Alisha, high school sweethearts turned forever partners.
This podcast is about love, learning, and adventure.
We're bringing you the raw, the real,
and the unfiltered.
Welcome back
To see more of life
Unfiltered.
So today looks a little bit different.
It does, doesn't it? We have a few guests, don't we?
Not only do we have special guests, we are not in our typical podcast studio.
You're right.
So to our guests, please introduce yourself. To my right, I'm Nessa.
To my left,
I'm Vanessa.
And together you guys make up
Team
Ness. Let's go. So we're very excited to have our first set of guests on See More of Life Unfiltered.
Yes.
So thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you for having us.
Yay.
All right. So I want, before we get into tonight's episode, you guys to give us a little bit of a background story on who you guys are, how long you've been together, and what brought you to this table today.
Correct.
Go ahead.
I will start us off. I was driving down I-75 in Florida one day, and Vanessa was sitting out there with her thumbs up, and I picked her ass up. That's how we got here.
It's the fact that, like, when you wanted to say I-75, you had a whole new accent. Like, is that, tell us a little bit about, first start, before you go into any further details, tell me about that accent.
It's just freshness. That's all, y'all.
It's just some hillbilly shit.
It sounds like some Florida hillbilly, like Florida man. Like, what?
I don't know about the accent, but we're gonna jump back into it because she's trying to distract us here. So Vanessa and I met through Alisha and Sam. I was an undergrad at the University of Florida.
Go Gators.
Go Gators.
Sam was graduating,
I was.
and they invited Vanessa.
Yeah.
And Vanessa really liked me so much when we were sitting in the stands at Sam's graduation that she asked me for my number.
Ooh, wait a minute, hold on.
Well, you jumping the gun.
Wait, did we
I'm
miss
telling
that
the story
part?
from the way I saw it.
Okay,
How somebody else saw it, I don't know, y'all.
all right, Vanessa, we will allow you to tell your version of the story in just a few minutes.
Yes.
Let's continue, freshness.
Go ahead.
So she asked me for my number, and I was like, of course. Yeah, I'll give you my number. And then that night, we were at Sam Alicia's apartment, and then she wanted to talk to me after that. So it's like giving her my number wasn't good enough, y'all. She wanted to talk to me, and so then we started chatting. Then the next day, she was headed back to Tampa, and then she hit me up on Facebook.
That's the only truth you've told.
And then she hit me up on Facebook, and then the rest is history. And then she wanted to come to my house in Gainesville. Then really the rest is history. And now we made it to this table because she wanted to be in my life so bad, and I liked her too. I liked her too.
She liked her.
I'm glad you at least said that she went to the
Yeah.
stalker. And how long has it been?
Since 2014. I can't count how many years, so since 2014, y'all do the math.
All right. Thank you for your version.
Go
V?
ahead.
Okay. I showed up to Sam's graduation.
So far, y'all do have some things in common.
I
There was
agree.
a graduation for Sam.
There was a graduation.
Okay. Baby
Okay.
steps.
I was trying to figure out my situation, and I was in the bedroom when I was
There's only one
watching.
bedroom. We only have one bedroom in this apartment.
I was in the bedroom getting ready for bed when Delun's Shanessa came into the room, and she started watching what's that show that you like?
Probably Law and Order SVU.
Law and Order SVU. And I was like, oh, is that Criminal Minds? And she was like, no, it's Law and Order. Whatever. She was sitting in the corner. So who wanted to talk to who? I'm gonna let y'all decide that, but it was definitely her. Because I was in the room minding my business, and then she decided to come into the room and sit in the corner watching Law and Order SVU. I don't know how that correlates.
That's her version.
The accurate version. Let the record reflect.
So I'm going to ask you the same question. How long has it been? Because I just want to see if y'all have some similarities in this story.
It's been 11 years.
Okay.
And
that's still
so I
2014.
did. I also did. So after we had the whole discussion about Law and Order, I thought it was Criminal Minds originally, and then we started talking about a whole bunch of stuff. That ended up landing us to overnight conversations, and then the next morning I did leave, and then I did add her on Facebook.
She was thinking about me on her way back to Tampa.
I was actually on the way to my ex's house, but
Thank
thinking about me.
And this, my friends,
Okay.
is unfiltered.
That's what
And we're going to leave some of that for a whole nother episode, okay?
Absolutely.
So, okay, now that we have the background story,
Mm-hmm.
and you guys already know our story.
Yes.
So you have two couples sitting at a table right now, 11 years and 14 years.
Correct.
You don't get to this stage in your relationship without building foundations.
Mm-hmm.
So let's take the people through that. All right. So let's talk about what trust looked like in those early days. So in that 2014, 11 years ago, what did trust look like for you guys? And if it's okay with you, we'll start off so that you kind of have a moment to think about that.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
So Sam, we've been doing this for a long
We
time.
have.
Early days, building trust.
Mm-hmm.
We started in high school.
We did.
Give a little bit of insight on what that looked like for you.
So, I want to say building trust for us included being open and honest about everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we were so young, we could be open and honest about everything without having to think about the repercussions, especially because we didn't know how long we were going to last.
That's fair.
Might I add?
No, that's fair. And I think the other part is there wasn't so much baggage as there would be for someone starting out in like their 30s or 40s, right? Like,
I agree.
I mean, how much baggage do you have from junior year or something like that? So it was a little bit more natural.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that what some people may not experience, but we can all probably attest to, is constantly building that trust throughout your relationship.
Agreed.
And I think that although the foundation started off pretty innocent, pretty natural, we had to continue to filter.
I agree. And I think that, being as young as we were able to filter without any judgment, really, because of that.
Yeah. So what did that look like for you guys in the early stages of your relationship?
I will say for me, it looked like a lot of patience.
Mm-hmm.
I think that when Ness and I entered into our relationship, I was freshly out of another relationship. And so a lot of the turmoil that we experienced in the beginning was just past behaviors that I had that I needed to focus on changing and evolving from. And so I think that for myself and for Shanessa, that looked like more patience on my end, more patience for Shanessa, but also just understanding like, okay, I just got out of this relationship because of X. Now I need to really think about what I want my next relationship to look like and how I want to, better establish myself in the next one. And so my previous relationship had a lot of issues regarding exes. And so one of the things that I went through going into this relationship with Shanessa is making sure that, okay, exes were a thing of my past in that relationship. I lost a relationship because of that. So how do I change my behavior in this new relationship, even though it was early on and even though we had no idea whether or not we were actually going to make it through? How can I begin to change my behaviors? And is it worth losing another relationship to past experiences in order for me to move forward? So I think that for me, it looked like letting go a lot of my past that I, just thought that it meant nothing. And then being patient with her and allowing her the opportunity to really learn about me and trust me and give me the opportunity to show her that I was willing to change and actually be serious about the relationship that we were building going forward.
Yeah, and I think I would add to that. So, like, just to give some more context, I believe I was single for like 2 or 3 years before me and Vanessa met.
Yeah.
So, like, for me, it was just my world, like how I wanted everything. And then you meet someone who is freshly out of a relationship, expresses to you like the challenges that you had in their previous relationship, and it's like, okay, well, great, those are challenges there. Well, if you want us to work, like, hopefully you're not gonna do those same things, right? Yeah. And so, like, that's what like Vanessa just spoke to. And so for me, it was like, okay, like, I have to overcome so many things. One, I've been single for a while, but two, how am I gonna trust this person, and is she gonna make these sacrifices for us?
Mhm.
You know, so like for me to feel like I can truly trust her, and so I think that was like a challenge in the beginning, and like something that was very, very hard until I was able to truly believe, like, okay, if she's willing to make these sacrifices, then like I can do this thing. But if she was able, if these were challenges in her previous relationship and she didn't see them as like, I don't know, important or whatever the case may be, and she was willing to lose a previous relationship, I'm like, damn, well, like, how much does she value our relationship? Like, is she willing to do that?
So you guys were having those conversations early on, like
Mhm.
what your past relationships looked
Yeah.
like and what probably was to the detriment of that relationship. So
Mhm.
you already knew. Why you laugh?
Well, because it wasn't as, I don't know how to describe it. It wasn't as simple as, not that you're making it seem like it was simple, but for us, the conversations were really just hinting at certain things. I don't think Shanessa was ever straightforward about her uncomfortability with that part of my experience until she started to feel deeper into the relationship.
Okay.
So I think that in the beginning she was just like haha kiki, and then once she started to develop more feelings, she
And that has
just,
to do with I-95 that she found you on.
Right.
Oh, I-75. Excuse me. We live in South
so
Florida.
once she started to develop more feelings and it started to become more real for her, that's when I started to feel more pressure. In the beginning we were just like hashtag living, and I think that that's something that we definitely had going on for a while.
Now I wanna take that information and I wanna say, is that how you felt, or is that how she perceived you in that instance?
In what you just said?
Yeah.
Well, I think for me, like, I don't trust easy. So at the beginning, it was more so like, I don't know, let's have fun and see where this thing gonna go.
That's
Yeah.
fair.
That's
And then
fair.
it's like, oh, well, like, this could be something. But like, are we both in? You know, like, are we truly both in? And if you've told me, again, these were issues before, okay, well, like, are you willing to give these up so that we can have a good relationship, you know, and a strong foundation? So I think that's fair.
I want to take it a step further. Was there ever a time where you felt trust was tested in your relationship? Because you don't get to 11 years without some tests, some trials, some tribulations, some challenges, right? Some difficulties. Can you think of a time where trust was tested and maybe how you overcame that?
I think for me in particular, I've always had my exes be a part of my life in that time frame. And so for myself, it was a constant letting Shanessa know, hey, this person reached out to me. Hey, I received this today. And then they got to a point where Shanessa was like, hey, man, you don't got to give me. You don't have to tell me every single time somebody hits you
play
up.
by play. You didn't want to hear the play by
And
play.
it actually started turning on me to the sense where like Shanessa was just like, you must be laughing with these people, joking with these people, because like if you were really straightforward with them, they would actually stop hitting you up. And I'm like, I don't know how more straightforward I could be. I'm not engaging with these people. I'm not looking for these people. And so I think that, again, a lot of the trust really came from Shanessa, and really it was me being patient with her to say, okay, like I understand why she has her reservations. This is how she met me. These are the nuances in which she met me. And then going from there and actually showing her that I will be able to transition from someone that was like, you know, it's just my exes, I'm over it, but there's never a full guarantee that your exes are actually fully over that situation. And that's where her reservations came from. So I had to take the initiative to say, okay, is it worth, again, losing a relationship to people in my past and then putting forth that effort to say, okay, I understand that I have to be more patient with you. I have to acknowledge some of the reservations that you have and then prove to you that, okay, I'm serious about this, even though it was extremely early on. Even though it was extremely early on, and I had no idea that this was going to come, but it was just kind of like it. When I think back to that place too, I think more so of, it's not so much so that I was changing for Shanessa and like our relationship. It was more so like, okay, what can I do to own my past, and then also become a better person and really identify what I can fix within myself. It wasn't going to be enough for me to say, hey, like, I'm not going to speak to my exes because I'm entertaining this relationship with Shanessa. It was more so like, okay, this is where I was at. This is what I've lost. What is there to gain? How do I move forward? And I think that I prioritize myself in that sense, which is why I provided enough patience for Shanessa to kind of revolutionize and grow within the relationship, even though it was a lot of skepticism in the beginning on her part.
So Nessie, I want to ask you, to her point about there was a point in time where you're like, almost like, I don't need the play by play. What do you, like, if you can remember that far back, what was kind of going through your mind? Did you feel like you didn't want to know every detail, or you just thought it was unnecessary to hear about it and that she should deal with it without including you? What do you think you were going through during those times?
Yeah, I think it was more so like, clearly at that point there was trust, because when we had first got together, again, she had just broke up with an ex.
And not just, but sure.
They were doing whatever they were doing to separate themselves, and they were no longer in each other's lives. But that, you know, sometimes folks like are still hanging on, and Vanessa was like dealing with that piece, whatever. So I think at the beginning it was more so to Vanessa's point of like, she keeps reaching out. Vanessa's saying that she's telling her, hey, we're done, but she's continuing to reach out. So then that's when I was like, what are you telling her that she keeps hitting you up, that she's not getting the memo? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like, after going through that, and then Vanessa's saying that like, hey, I'm telling her like I don't want to be with her, whatever. I'm like, okay. And then I think that for me, it was just like, I don't like stress. I'm like, I just gotta trust her. Like, I gotta believe that like she's in this, I'm in this. I don't want to hear every time somebody, one of your exes, like hitting you up. I just gotta believe that you're taking care of business. Like, I like, if I don't want stress or like to question our relationship or where we're going or whatever case may be, I have to take this, I would say like part risk, because like you don't really know what to expect, but then also opportunity for me to just like really be all in and just really trust my partner that they're going to be handling things on their end without me always being in the know. And I feel like I needed to like lift that weight off of my shoulder because it wasn't like good.
And I think that's super mature, right? Especially to be doing that early on. Is there anything between us that you felt like we had to kind of overcome early on, or just in our relationship in general when it comes to trust? You want to ponder that?
I will say that I did have, I guess, hell, we're unfiltered, aren't we? I had an ex for a very long time as a child. I feel like it wasn't really, I know this sounds horrible, but when you date as a adolescence, I guess, young adult, teenager, it doesn't really count in the same way it does in adulthood.
The frontal lobe is not developed.
I agree.
Just put that out there, okay?
So I feel like I had a very long relationship in the sense that I was with someone for so long that
throughout childhood.
Right. When we were starting our journey, they kind of lingered in the background, and not in a negative way. It was just, we were so accustomed to each other. At that point, we were just friends, and it just kind of evolved into this friendship where it's like, you've been around my entire young adult life. Like, you're just here. And I think that in the beginning of our relationship, that was something we needed to navigate because it wasn't working for us.
Yeah.
And so I think it was important for us to discuss it, throw a couple of staplers for because we go back to episode 1. But I think that was a lot of discussing and having that conversation because they were just a friend at that point, but it also didn't make sense to keep them around because we were changing into our adult lives. So I think it was important that we just kind of had that conversation and navigated that together.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And what I've heard us talk about so far is what it looked like to kind of build on trust,
right?
To like set the foundation for trust, right? Early on in your relationships. And I want to pivot a bit to if there ever was an instance where you had to rebuild trust.
Ooh.
Like, not so much to say that trust was lost and, you know, it was all forgotten about and now we need to start from scratch. But was there ever an instance where in your relationship something happened or you went through a rough patch and now you're feeling this need to rebuild trust? And while you guys think about that, because we don't tell them the questions in advance, you know what I mean? So while you think about that, I'll kind of give a story that we experienced. And I know oftentimes it looks very perfect from the outside looking in. But Sam and I had an experience when I was in law school. And Vanessa, you actually know this experience very well, being Sam's best friend. And I do appreciate you, so I will share this. We had gotten to a point where I believe Sam had some strong reservations about a friendship that I had. And I had no idea. I was actually not aware of the feelings that you shared. And then we talked about it. We kind of had a moment, and I just couldn't understand like why we were going through a rough patch. It didn't really make sense to me because I wasn't experiencing it the same way you were. And when you shared it with me, to me, I was taken aback because I was like, me? Like I just couldn't even imagine it. And what I found interesting in that conversation was the fact that you had a conversation with Vanessa. And Vanessa told you straight up, you know, I don't think anything is happening, but if you feel something is, you should just talk to Alisha about it.
Right.
And I think it was kind of the push you needed. And we had that conversation, and it was a difficult conversation. And I felt that I had to kind of regain your trust. Although I totally felt like I had not done anything to lose your trust. But for you to even have an ounce or an inkling to feel any sort of way didn't sit right with me.
So can I answer
Please.
myself? Okay. So law school was a journey within itself, and I think
course.
one day we'll talk about that separately. One of the first things Alisha told me when she entered law school was that they had, I don't know, some sort of orientation, and a future professor or some sort of person who was important in the law school said, if you have a relationship already established, go ahead and let that go, because by the end of law school, you won't be together, right? And that was like first day she came home, and that's what the hell she told me. And I was like, well, what the hell have we been doing all these years? Because at that point, we were in what, year 6, year 5? Like, we're reaching that honeymoon phase is over,
Like 4
you know?
years then,
So I think that when she was in law school and she made this friend, and they were having conversations every day, and they were relating on things that I couldn't relate to.
Sure.
And, you know, they were having phone calls and whatever it was. I'm not gonna lie, I guess my insecurities kicked in, because what the hell, they told her to leave me the first day she started law school, and here she is with a law school friend, and I'm like, well, where do I fit in?
Sure.
So I think that was a huge, you know, like, I guess, like, whirlwind of events. And yes, I did talk to you, and I recall that very, quite vividly.
I just, you know, for me, this has been, to me, so solid for so long. When there was even an ounce of a doubt, it didn't sit well with me, right? And so I felt like I needed to do something to regain trust, even though I didn't feel like I had ever done anything to lose trust.
Fair.
And so to me, even if that meant cut off all ties,
Which was unfair.
and
Kinda.
but for me at that moment, it was just like, oh, if you even think something, like, no, right? Because it's like, so, to me, was so like unfathomable. So it was nothing to me to just let that go. But at the same time, I think it was important for us to experience that in our relationship so that we can realize, like, okay, in the future, it's just a conversation. If you feel a certain way, we should be able to talk about that.
Which takes time to build.
Of course. Of course. And it doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
And I think even today, like, there would still be some hesitation to have a conversation like that. It's just a natural thing, right?
Yeah.
But I think for me, that's the only instance where I can really think back and say, I felt a need to rebuild trust or regain trust.
Yes, sir.
And now I bought you guys some time.
Now go ahead.
I bought you some time to kind of think about
The
that
fool.
and tell me what that looked like if it ever happened in your relationship.
I think if I'm thinking about, bless you, if I'm thinking about this, I don't think necessarily that we had to rebuild trust. I think it was more so about just, I think, so obviously, if you guys don't know the background, that might be another podcast entirely, another episode entirely. I went to high school with Sam and Alisha. I met Ness at Sam's graduation. We covered that at the beginning of this. And so I will say for myself, I was never a star pupil. I was always very motivated and very driven about different things, but not academics.
Sure.
And so even though I got into UF and I went to UF and I did all of these things and I graduated UF, I think that there was some insecurity with Shanessa always being like this star pupil, always having strong
Lies.
support.
Fake it till you make it.
She always had a strong support system. She always knew exactly where she was going, what she was going to be doing. There was always a plan. This trip was planned by her. I mean, there's levels to Shanessa's mind and organization. And I think for me, I've always kind of felt like, okay, I'm not this star pupil. I'm not super into academics. I wasn't this person that got a full ride to college and had straight A's, C's get the green. And I think that there was
this
some
episode is for everybody.
Yeah, I think that for me it was more so of learning how to trust that I was enough, right? That she's not looking for someone that is exactly like her, exactly motivated like her. And I think that for a time I always felt like I was behind, right? You had graduated, you had graduated, you had graduated. Everyone was graduating, okay? And I was kind of just trudging along, trying to figure out where to go, because I really wanted to be a Seminole, but we're not
going to do that. That's one thing.
Go
We're not going to do. Go Gators.
Go Gators. But I think for me it was more so like not rebuilding trust, but just trusting that I was enough in that relationship and not feeling insecure about her surroundings and the other people that were stronger in academics. And because I know, obviously hindsight is 2020, I know what I bring to the table, I know the type of person that I am, but in that moment when you're seeing everyone just excel and surpass you in so many different ways, it's kind of like, how did this person end up with me, and will I be able to maintain this relationship long term if this is something that is extremely important to this person?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think for me, I just had to, I always trusted her, but in a sense, I did have to trust that I was going to be enough from that regard.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
I like that spin.
I do.
Mm-hmm.
I do too.
I never trust her. I never will. I shouldn't trust her either. No, I think I can't think of a moment where we had to rebuild trust or anything like that. But I think just knowing that like our foundation of trust was strong enough to like navigate like anything, for example, like any insecurities or anything like that was like something that was important to me. So if anything did ever come up, for example, what she just shared, it was like, you don't have to get A's. Like, I don't care. Like, that was my goal,
That's a
but it
lot
doesn't
of
have to be
pressure.
like yours.
That's
So
a lot
I
of
think just
pressure.
like emphasizing to your partner, like, honestly, I love you for you. Like, if I can help you with your homework though, like, for you to get A's, like, I definitely want to do that.
I think too, Shanessa was always like, I don't care what you do. I just need you to do something. I need you to figure out which direction in which you're going. And if you're going to go in that direction, dive in fully.
Mm.
And I think I've always been scattered mind in that I decide one day I want to wake up and try different things. And then she's like, okay, great. And then it's like, were you consistent? Did you follow through on that? So I think that I had to learn that over time. And she was very patient. And there were times where she did help me out with some.
Hey, they can't take the degree back.
I will say,
Can't take it back.
I will say part of why this friendship has worked for so long is because we're all kind of like each other in many ways.
Mhm.
So I think that, like they're very academically driven and we're kind of like undiagnosed ADHD.
Definitely.
So I think that I think it's important that you mention that because it's part of our foundation.
Yeah, but what I heard, and everyone says this, right? Everybody says, "What's the key to a good relationship? Communication, communication." But really, when you hear your story, you hear our story, it always falls back to that. So that's not just something people say just to say, right? It's true. You see that in relationships, whether they are intimate relationship, friendships, you name it. If we don't communicate with one another, you're not going to get anywhere. And so you had to communicate with her that even though she was feeling a certain way, that she had to perform a certain way, you're like, no, I want you to be consistent. I want you to get the degree for you. So that's communicating, right? So let's pivot to that. Like what does communication, like what would you say is your communication style? What has worked for you guys? And it changes over time.
I want to start on this side of the room.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I already started. I was ready to dive in. Okay, I was gonna jump on the table if you didn't let me go first.
Whoa. Stay in your seat, please. Stay in your seat.
No, but I think communication was probably like the biggest challenge hurdle of our relationship, and I think it's more so of like with me and like just the history of my life, like even just growing up, communication wasn't a big thing. Like in my household, we didn't like if you had issues or whatever, it was just like you get the silent treatment until I don't know when you just start talking to each other. Like, that's literally how it was. And Vanessa could see that when we started dating, and part of it was like I just didn't know how to communicate in an effective way to my partner and communicate my wants and needs. But it was also the other part of that is I felt like I don't like to inconvenience people. And so if I'm telling, for example, it may be an issue for me, but it may not like be a significant issue for somebody else. So I just wouldn't say anything. And then issues would build up and then eventually, all right, like a pressure cooker, right? Like you don't release the pressure and then like it blows or whatever. So I feel like we went through that very early on in our relationship, mostly because of me, because I just would not express to Vanessa how I felt. And Vanessa would just be like, why don't you just tell me? Why don't you just talk to me or whatever? Why do you wait until 6 months down the road and tell me that something pissed you off 6 months ago? And I'm like, I don't know. I didn't think it was that big of an issue at that moment. Or like, I didn't want to bother you or like be a burden, but clearly it was important and it escalated. So I say all of that to say like communication was a huge like hurdle for me to overcome and learn how to communicate. I think now, like as soon as something happens, I'm like, no, like don't piss me off, don't do that, don't blah 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 blah. Sometimes I feel like it's like really excessive, but I'm like, no,
that's why we're communicating.
We're sharing much,
but also like I also feel better after, you know, like I don't feel like it's like a pressure cooker like exploding, and it's like Vanessa has always expressed to me like I want you to tell me these things so that I know how I can support you, what I can do, whatever, so you don't continue to feel that way. But like that was a journey. Like I think in our relationship, that was probably the biggest journey. Whereas now I'm like, yeah, you pissed me off, stop doing that. No, don't talk to me like that. No, blah, blah, blah. But like, it's great. I feel very good. Y'all communicate out there. It changed the game.
Vanessa, you have anything to add?
Go ahead.
No, that's exactly true. I feel like when Shanessa and I met, we had very different communication styles. I have always been very forward, very upfront, very direct, and Shanessa kind of shied away from that. Not necessarily that she shied away from that. She would just either ignore it or ignore me for like a week. Wow. And then I was like, at one point throughout the beginning of our relationship, I'm like, if this girl don't text me back today, it's done.
Well, I think, and not to like interject or anything, but I am going to interject. I feel like for me, it was
that's how everyone starts before they interject.
Exactly. That's how you preface things if you ever want to interject. But anyways, so I think for me, it was like, and it's an immature way of thinking, but like, I would have this thinking of like, if you did something that bothered me, why would you do that? Like, why would you intentionally do something that would like, that would bother me? And again, it's that communication barrier. We're like, how does a person know that bothers you? You know, told.
Right.
You know what I mean?
She thought that I was Houdini.
And so like that's where like there was a communication gap with myself around like me just assuming she knows that these things bother me, so like why would she do them? But like I ain't never tell her. But then I would be upset. I'm like, why the hell would she make me that mad? You know, and I just wouldn't talk to her because then I need my own processing time to get through those emotions about why this person I love so much who say they love me, you know, would like do something like that. So again, that's all communication that like I struggle with just really, really bad. Yeah. But now much better.
V, you were saying?
So for me, I think it was just, again, going back to the beginning of everything, I just had to have a lot of patience. Because again, we were starting off at very different instances. Janessa was already single for like 2 to 3 years, and I'm a serial monogamist. So I was like not to say one relationship after the other, but I think that as a young adult, I had experienced a lot more nuances in relationships that prepared me and enabled me to communicate more effectively than Shanessa did. And so when we got together, I immediately knew that there was an imbalance there. And in order for anyone to work out in a relationship, there has to be a level of compromise. And I knew immediately that I would be compromising a lot in terms of me being patient and just allowing her to eventually catch up with communication. But yes, I think that her solution to the problem was, I'm upset about this. I'm not going to tell her that it bothered me.
Because you're supposed to just know.
I'm just supposed to know.
Right. You love me so much, you're supposed to be able to like connect.
Yeah. And that was extremely different for me. Whereas I'm just like, okay, do you like this? Do you not like it? Do you want to be together? Do you not want to be together? And I couldn't understand how like you could think that you were communicating when you weren't.
Yeah.
So for me, it was just letting her know, hey, when you don't like something, let me know, and then we can work on it. But we can't work on anything if you just ghost me.
Yeah. How do you feel like that communication style looks now?
It's exactly how Shanessa said. I think that she's very vocal now. I've always been vocal. In fact, Shanessa told me at one point that I was too loyal because I would tell her everything. If I got a DM from some random person, if I got a message from an ex, I threw everything on the table. I was pretty transparent from the onset. And so I think that it was more so getting her up to speed and having her tell me, okay, you know, this doesn't feel good. And, you know, I would complain about how she mopped floors, and I had to figure out how to communicate that in a way that didn't feel like it was degrading her or anything like that. So I think, like, yes, I've been patient, but also I've had to figure out how to communicate in a way that doesn't hurt her feelings, right? Because I think that I was very straightforward, and in my mind, I'm like, I'm being honest, and it's like, no harm, no foul. But how you communicate really does make a difference.
Of course.
I want to say when she said, you know, I was communicating and I didn't want to hurt her feelings. I feel like that was something we had to also talk through and work through, because I am a very sensitive person and Alisha is very blunt. She's a lawyer, you know, like she's just straightforward. Here's the facts, right? And at one point, it was kind of like, you don't have to, like,
tippy toe.
Yeah, like, so I think that it was important that we had that conversation as well.
But I will also say too, like when Vanessa say like how you communicate matters, because there will also be times where like Vanessa was so blunt and direct. I'm like, why would somebody who loves me talk to me like this?
I agree. No, I agree, and I think that that's important to have that conversation.
Well, and also too, like I think we recently had this conversation about. I was telling her how when I'm about to say something to her, if it's going to be like, you know, scoldish or whatever term you want to use, but like, I actually think about like how to say this in like a really nice, like loving way, because I don't want to sound like I'm aggressive, but I do want to express to you how I feel about it, but I want to come off wrong. So I've just felt like that's something that I've like worked on, that I always tell Vanessa, like, it's okay to tell me that like, you don't like the way I mopped before. I don't give a damn. Well, like, I don't know, say it, try to say a nice way to say it or something like that. I don't know.
ChatGPT helps a lot.
Hey, chat, how do I tell my girl I don't like how she mopped the floor? Well, Vanessa, you can say, your technique is off. Would you like to practice this technique instead? Maybe. I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know.
I think these are
Shanessa,
actually
yeah.
important conversations.
Yeah.
I think Shanessa, in her mind, it's like, you know, we're getting things done around the household. It doesn't have to be perfect. It
Sure.
doesn't have to look a certain way.
Mhm.
Whereas I'm a perfectionist, and like Sam said, we have undiagnosed ADHD somewhere, somehow. And how you mop the floor and get all those streaks? How?
You know,
I don't, you know.
Y'all, all
But
I'm
see-
saying is the first time they complain, never do it again.
And you know what?
So
let's
you the
not
mopper.
do
You the
that.
mopper from now on.
I am. I actually
Oh my
am.
goodness.
I actually
You know what?
am.
No,
That
I think
works.
no. But see, I remember hearing something. It was like, it's not about compromise, it's how you collaborate. And I think that's a great form of collaboration, right?
Mhm.
Like realizing that it's a weakness, right? In this
Everyone has their
relationship,
strengths.
like she has a strength. She's a great mopper. And you're not very good at it because you leave streaks. So now she does the mopping.
Not
Like
that
throwing
you
shade,
leave
though.
streaks.
It's perception, folks.
Sure, it is perception.
I think, to Sam's point, I think you and I do a great job at identifying what our strengths and weaknesses are, and really amplifying those for the both of us, because otherwise we'd go crazy.
Fair enough.
And I think a lot of people in relationships focus on changing that individual or trying to train them into being something that they're not. And I think that that's where a lot of relationships fail, at least in my opinion. I think that taking, again, like I said, identifying what your strengths and weaknesses are, where you draw the line at, and then going from there is really important. I would never want to force anyone to change certain things about them. Even still, like, I wouldn't judge Nessa for leaving streaks when she mops, right?
Lies.
She no, but
She
what I'm
tears me a
saying-
new one.
what I'm saying is that Shanessa is extremely organized. She books all of our trips. She's always been responsible. I'm responsible as well. But again, we have different things that we navigate. And so we do play, how do I say that?
Play off of each other.
Yeah. Like we definitely do. And that's important, you know, as opposed to like just thinking that you have to train someone or change someone. Some things are just not worth it.
Yeah.
Right. And so
Pick your
honestly,
battles.
oftentimes, yes, I am the mopper, but she hires people to mop. So it's like it's a win-win
There you
either
go.
way. We're not losing, but also we're not going to sleep angry about the streaks on the
Absolutely.
floor at the end of the day. It's just not worth it.
So what I'm hearing is you have to be intentional.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So, and you have to pick and choose what works, what doesn't work.
Mhm.
Talk to me a little bit about what works in keeping this going as long as it has. Because we've talked about communications, we've talked about trust.
Mhm.
What keeps this going this long? What's working?
I think it goes back to being intentional about everything. It's just simply being intentional. I think that if I express something to Shanessa or she expresses something to me, one of the ways that you could really show up for your partner is listening to them, understanding them, and also finding ways to engage with them in a way that's comfortable for them. I don't think it's worth it to say, hey, this bothers me, and then you just say, yeah, you know what, you got a point. That's totally fine. And then there's no changed behavior. I think that you do have to be intentional about everything. I mean, if we were to break up for, I don't know, streaks on the floor, that some people might be crossing that threshold. Who knows? And I'm not judging them. I'm just saying it's not worth it for us, right? We've invested so much. And I think you really do have to be intentional. I had to be more intentional about how I speak to Shanessa, how I vocalize certain things, certain fears and certain feelings that I have, all the while also being intentional about being patient with how she communicates and understanding her background and how that meshed well. So I think at the core of everything, you have to communicate, but also just be intentional how you show up for them, and changed behavior is also very important. I'm not saying completely alter your personality, but I think that it's important if I'm always nagging, or if I'm always saying something to Shanessa that makes her feel less than, and in the way that I say it, I'm probably not even thinking about it, right? I'm just in the moment and I'm just vocalizing to her how I feel, then that can degrade a relationship over time.
Of
And
course.
so I think it's important to just have that dialogue, be intentional about it, and then listen and actually change your behavior. So when Shanessa's saying, "Hey, I didn't like that. Why did you do that?" It's like sometimes I'm looking at her like crazy. I'm like, "What? What are you even talking about?" And then other times I'm like, "Well, it is how you perceived it to be." And so sometimes that does force me to look inward and be intentional about how I show up for myself and for the relationship.
Absolutely.
I think all those things, and a couple of things I would add is I would say really embrace the partner. Like I feel like I embrace who Vanessa is. Like there's things I know she does not like that I try to be mindful of when I'm planning different things or doing different things. For example, on a trip, I don't think one day we got up early for an excursion because I know Vanessa doesn't like those things. So I think just like being mindful of that person, embracing who they are, even if it's different from you, always assume positive intent. I feel like when we started like our relationship, some things that Vanessa would do, like I alluded to earlier, that she would do that would annoy the hell out of me. I assumed negative intent, like she was trying to hurt me, and I would just question like, why would someone who says they like me, love me, whatever the case may be, do these things that they know will hurt me? And so now it's shifted into like she didn't do that to hurt me, whatever it was. Clearly there was something behind it that I just need to understand more about or like get some clarity on. So I think assume positive intent, embrace your partner, and then I think just like I don't know, like just like have fun. I don't know. I feel like we just have like so much fun in our relationship that like it's fun that we both want though. It's not like one sided. It's
Hold on.
like seriously stop playing. Like you go to cat cafe, you go to spas, like you relax. Like this girl has a good life. Don't listen to her. And
So we just gonna ignore the whole excursion that we did today that had my central nervous system.
She really enjoyed it though, but that's for another conversation.
Okay.
So I just feel like having fun with your partner and just like making memories and again embracing them, respecting them, and
Sometimes it's having fun they didn't know they wanted.
Exactly. Sometimes they don't know, so you also have to fill in that for them too. So I mean, you just gotta like really be a true like partner, you know, and it works.
Some people may not agree with you at this table at this current moment.
No, right
because
now
of the excursion you put them through this afternoon.
No, they feel really good about it. She feels really good.
All right.
So don't gaslight your partners. That's step one. That's all I have to say.
Are there any rituals, any habits, anything you partake in that keeps this going, keep this being, and you have to be intentional about these rituals, right? Like traditions and rituals do not happen organically if you're not intentional about them, right? Are there any things that you guys do to keep this relationship going?
Yeah, Shanessa likes to cook together.
Yeah,
she likes spending time.
And the thing I was gonna say is like understanding each other's like love languages. So like mine is like quality time. That is something that's like really important to me. Like we could be walking down the street, we doing it together. We could be, hey, listen, we done built the fence, done flooring, DIY. Look, that is
a lot of DIY
that I love so much. Some people, again, no shade of them, like to do different, more romantic thing. I think like us doing DIY is the most romantic thing ever, and I love it so much. No, I'm so serious. I love it.
You know, I'm actually taken aback to hear that because I've always thought that you did not like these projects, that you're just doing them.
I signed us up for the fence. That was my project. Like I literally said we're gonna build a fence.
I love that,
and I loved it so much. And I loved us out there struggling together, cussing each other out, but it's all part of the journey.
It's all part of the plan.
Yeah, it's all part of the journey.
V?
Yeah, no, I think it's important. Like for us, Shanessa does enjoy quality time. I'm more of an acts of service type of person, so I show my affection by cooking, spending time with her, obviously. But I think we have the most fun when we cook with one another. We also do a lot of DIY, which is fun. It does test our relationship quite a lot. Anyone that has had any type of DIY home remodeling in their system, I think those are the root to the true trials and tribulations of
course,
relationships.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
because you always have one person that reads the instructions, and then you have another person that
I'm the
does
reader.
not.
I'm the reader.
You're not. You're not. She will start putting things together before she even knows where they belong. And
she's
then,
like, oh yeah, A goes with B for sure.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't.
Yeah, it's A and B in like section C. So that's usually how that goes.
Y'all.
But I think too, like we do date a lot. I don't think we formally call it dating, but it is dating. We go on coffee dates. Sunday mornings we'll wake up, we'll have really slow mornings, go to breakfast together. I love food. So I mean, honestly, anywhere you could take me where there's food and massages, I'm sold. I think that I'm pretty basic in that regard. But like to Shanessa's point, I do enjoy going to cat cafes. I do enjoy volunteering at shelters. So there are times where we have dog day out. We also partake in rescuing. So I think that that's how we've kind of filled our cup in different ways that allow us also to cultivate more patience and more understanding. Because I mean, sometimes when, like I said, if you're not the person in the relationship that reads the instructions, it's a problem.
Any rituals, babe, that you would say that we partake in or that we continue to do to keep this and maintain our connection?
I think that part of it is our conversations. We talk a lot.
They do talk. They do talk a lot.
Wait a minute. What's that supposed to mean?
Not in a bad way. I think that
they do.
She
talk
was the
a
friend,
lot.
by the way, that was up at 6 a.m. telling us, what the hell, you're having a normal conversation at this time in the morning? Like, how?
So yeah, I'm not a morning person. If I have to log in early for work, I'm usually either listening to music or I'm drinking coffee, something. I'm not talking, I'm not interacting, I'm not engaging with anyone. I was at their house just typing away, and these people are getting their lunch ready, they're getting dressed for work. I mean, it was like a movie. And I was like, this shit happens outside of movies? And I don't mean, me and Shanessa, we're not morning people. If Shanessa comes into the house and she's talking too much, I'm looking at her sideways. I'm like, hold up. We don't need to be doing all of that. And we have one particular cat that does all of that for us. So I think that you guys, I think it's healthy. It's extremely healthy. I didn't know that existed outside of the paradigm that I exist in, because I'm not a morning person. I don't talk. I'm certainly not getting lunch together at 6 a.m. What are you even talking about?
I think that's important for us.
You guys definitely have tight rituals.
We do.
You guys are extremely
We're very
consistent.
routine.
I don't know how y'all wake up most times. These people, I don't think they've ever slept.
We
Well,
sleep.
No, I was gonna say
Not
there's
enough.
that.
But we sleep.
Yeah.
Not enough. But we sleep.
I think we go on a lot of trips,
whether
they're work related or just for vacation sorts. And even those, it's like we're working and then it's like, okay, well, it's midnight, so now it's time to pack, and then we got a flight at 6 a.m. so we're gonna take a 2-hour nap and then go on this flight and then go on this trip, and we're gonna do the trip. I think
and they do everything. I want to be clear. If I'm doing all of this, don't bother me until 3 p.m., whatever time it is. They'll land anywhere. It could be 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 9 a.m.,
and then go
2 p.m., and they're ready to go.
So I wanna pivot. In Rome, we were in Rome. We were exploring Rome. First day there, we're like, you can't go to sleep.
I know where you're going with this.
Can't go to sleep, because if you go to sleep, you're gonna be jet lagged, and that's it. It's a wrap. We got there, I don't know, early.
We got there early, yeah.
Early.
I don't know, maybe 10 o'clock their time.
And then it was 10 p.m. and we're walking the streets, and I'm in my brain, I'm like, bro, I want to go to bed so bad. And we're both going. We're just walking at this
Going to the
point.
next bar, we go to the next thing.
And then I'm looking at her, and she's looking at me, and I'm a little bit tired. And she's like, me too. And I'm like, I've been tired for about an hour. Like, I'm ready to go. And she was like, me too. And I'm like, So
I was like, I was only going because I thought you wanted
and
to
I'm
keep
like,
going.
no, and I was only going because I thought you wanted to keep going. It was a very intense day, I promise. But we woke up early the next day to get back to it. But honestly, I was so stressed. I was like, I just want to go to bed.
No, I think sometimes we just keep going and we don't even realize like maybe we need to take
And
a
that's a
breather.
problem, but we're
We have-
working on it.
We're working on it. I don't know how hard we're working, but we're working on it. One of my, and I talked about this in episode 1, but one of my favorite things that we always do is before we leave the house, we always kiss goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
And then almost immediately we get on the phone and talk wherever the person's going. And like sometimes I have work calls or whatever the case may be.
Right.
But we always let each other know we made it safely to wherever we were going. And I think that that's so important. And one of the things that I want us to end today's conversation with is just like leaving our viewers with a tip for working together, keeping your relationship alive. Just like a little piece of advice to help that. And my tip would be talk on the phone. It's random. I know. And so we get into these routines. I see you at home. You know, I get off of work and I see you at home and we're there for hours. I see you all weekend. We're there together for hours. Why do I need to talk to you on the phone? Maybe I text you, hey, can you bring milk before you come home? But it could be one time a week. Find 15 minutes to talk on the phone.
I might
It's
add.
different.
I'm gonna add. Make it dirty sometimes.
You can do that too, you know. But that would be my tip. My tip would be talk on the phone with your person, and I don't mean the relationship that just started. So now you're on the phone and you're like, oh, let's fall asleep on the phone. But like if you're in something and it's been a long time and you haven't talked on the phone in a while,
Talk on the phone.
talk on the phone, man. Like 15 minutes. And I'm not talking. And people who have kids, we don't have kids, but people who have kids. I don't mean talk about your kids for 15 minutes. Yeah, I know that kid drove me crazy this morning and like I had to do this and that. Or it's your turn to deal with this kid.
No.
That's not what I mean. I mean, just talk to your partner on the phone for 15 minutes, just the two of you connecting.
What is your tip?
What's your tip?
My tip is to just be intentional and do what works for your relationship.
Oh, you guys steal mine.
Oh, that you were gonna say the same thing? You're always in my head anyway. You just don't got no original thoughts.
Well, that's why she thought you were supposed to be knowing what was bothering her because y'all supposed to be in each other's head.
Hello. Yeah, no. I think that too often we get caught up with like different things. What should a relationship look like? You know, we see a lot of movies, a lot of shows. We see a lot of different chemistry, and sometimes that chemistry just isn't real, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think for me, my tip is to just do what works in your relationship. For me and Shanessa, that looks like cooking together, learning new recipes, doing DIY. And now, to y'all's point, we don't make it dirty. But Shanessa does call me when she's on Stairmaster because that shit be kicking her ass.
It motivates me.
And it motivates her. And that's how I show up for her, right? So she could be calling any other person, but she calls me.
That's cute.
No, she can't be calling some other person. She could only be calling you. That's it.
I think what I would add to that too, that was really like what I was gonna say, but I think the other thing too is like there's no like blueprint to like having a perfect relationship. Like no relationship is perfect. But I truly believe in like making it what you and your significant other want it to be. Right? Like there's so many gems and people will like give their advice, like all these different things. And that may work for like them or other people or whatever the case may be, but like that does not mean that's gonna work for you.
Right.
Of course. So make it what you want it to be. Like and whatever that looks like. Because I think sometimes like, yeah, people see movies or people see, I don't know, like talk to their friends or like family, whatever, and they share these like tidbits and stuff like that, these little nuggets. It's like, I mean, yeah, great. Like thanks for the feedback. Like you can keep that in mind, right? Like as you're navigating different things with your relationship, but like don't let that be the end all of like what you're aiming for if it doesn't fit your relationship. And so I would just say like be open to that, you know, because every relationship is different. People are different. We have different preferences and like what we want our relationship to be or like what we like or what we don't like.
Know your love languages. I feel like that's very important.
Definitely knowing your love language. So I just think that like that's probably the biggest thing that I would leave, you know, like the viewers with is just like make it what you want it to be, and I think it'll be successful. But like, you know, don't look at other people and be like, oh, I want that or whatever. It's like that may not work for you, you know.
And I will say, Yeah, comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah.
But I will also say, if you are in a relationship and there are things that you want, but you're not getting them, you might not be in the right relationship. Just focus, dive in. You know what I'm saying? It's not a mystery. You can tell when you're compatible with someone and when you're passing time. So I know that's kind of like a little bit far-fetched, but also
No, it's fair.
just know, because I think that if you spend a lot of time investing into the wrong people, it's going to show in the long run.
Absolutely. Samantha? Well, wait, no, your tip, girl.
I thought I gave it to him.
No, you did not. You're not off the hook. End us.
Not literally.
Yeah, no. Don't take us out. End the episode with your tip.
I think it's important to live for you and then for your relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, because I feel like oftentimes we're focused, like when you enter a relationship, you're kind of splitting that. You're no longer thinking for yourself, but also it's kind of like self-care.
Yeah.
The more you show up for yourself, the better you're going to be able to show up for your relationship.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what you mean. Yeah. It's like,
so
take care of yourself.
Take us through what you meant by that.
Mm-hmm.
I meant that. I feel like sometimes I feel like we've all been in a very long lasting relationship, right? So you go through experiences in life where you're changing and evolving into a new person. Mm-hmm. And I think it's important to learn who you are as an individual to be able to show up for your partner as well. So you have to show up for you and then show up for your partner, because a lot of times when you're with someone for so long, you tend to kind of develop this way of living a life where you can just focus on there's that saying where it's like, I don't want to, hurt anyone's feelings, but God, family, that like you're last usually. And I don't necessarily believe in that, because I think it's important to fill your own bucket first.
Of course, yeah.
In order to then fill the bucket of others. And I think that applies to your relationship as well. You need to be able to be there for you in order to be there for your person.
I love that. That's why they tell you on the plane, put your mask on first.
Exactly.
And then you can help others around you.
Exactly.
And so we will end it with that, okay? And so thank you guys for joining us on this episode of Cmor of Life. Unfiltered. Until next time, continue to see more of life.
Unfiltered. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for sharing this moment with us on Cmor of Life Unfiltered. If you felt a spark, learned something new, or just laughed along, hit follow, leave a review, and share this with someone who needs it.
You can find more love, learning, and adventure at cmoroflife.com. That's CMOR of life.com. And across our socials at cmoroflife_.
Until next time,
keep living unfiltered.